it is recording. Hi, we're doing the mid-year book freakout tag. I see this come through every year, and I've never actually done it. I've gone, oh, this is probably what I pick. But I'm doing it. I'm doing it here with Bethany. We live together. These are some of our books. Let's get into it. All right. The first one is your best favouriteest book so far this year.
Which, by the way, what an evil question
Very
to
good.
ask someone.
It was hard, but I picked one.
Mine became best by default because working through the other categories.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. All right, so I picked Gleam by Raven Kennedy. We have been buddy reading this series like all year. So
oh my god, what a journey!
And like, look, it can be a bit slow, but this is like the third book where we just get so much payoff. And I was reading faster than you, and I was freaking out, being like.
So we have like a code. So when we're reading together, because I hate spoilers, I'm like, stop saying
Stop
things.
reacting, yeah.
So now whenever something happens, Tiana says
book
or
in whatever emotion. Book
or book.
So that was mine. What did you
And
pick?
I picked Wild Love by Elsie Silver. So this is my first one. I actually read it on audio, but I loved it so much I bought the paperback because I want to reread it. I have such a kink for healthy relationships and communication and probably projecting what I want onto a book and
And it's pink. It's beautiful.
and it's really pretty. And the sequel's
Oh,
coming
I see.
out later this year.
The best sequel. I picked Empire of the Dam by J. Kristoff.
It's very good.
So, yeah, it was hard not to pick a Raven, but I was like, okay, that had to be the top. And, yeah, so this series, it's a bit slow at times, but I really loved how they kind of expanded the world in this one.
Yeah.
We got some additional perspectives, and we got to see more about the vampire, magic and stuff. And there was some good, twists and turns, and even just relationships. And the very end...
Oh,
Jay.
the end!
Yay, are you kidding me? I need the next one.
Mr. Kristoff! I'm not okay. I don't like it. And now you make me wait?
Rude.
This is rude.
And if you have the physical one, it has pictures in it, and they're really gorgeous. So,
I couldn't pick. So you get two. So I have been reading ACOTAR because of Tej.
And the internet.
I did not like ACOTAR. I feel like I'm ACOTAR's biggest critic. And then the sequels came out. Well, not came out. I read the sequels. So, ACA War, yes, I lost myself for days in this. I do still have criticisms, but I loved reading it. And have fun editing, Tiana.
Yes.
This is An Ocean of Sin and Starlight, the sequel to A Ship of Bones and Teeth. First book, I just fell in love with it last year. It's mermaids, it's pirates, it's dark, it's fantasy, it's sexy. It's everything I want in a book. And then a sequel came out where our protagonist, our main girl, is a mermaid, and our main dude is a priest.
of course.
It was great. I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, I was like, it just looks like you're going
This is where high five the book.
yeah. A new release that you haven't read yet, but you want to. Alright, I picked Funny Story by Emily Henry. I'm a bit of a hopeless romantic for Emily Henry. She's had a bit of a 50% hit rate. I've still liked them all, but I really enjoyed Happy Story? Stop it. No. Happy Place.
It's just a happy story.
Sorry. Happy Place and Beach Read. And yeah, this just sounds fun. It's cute. I will read this maybe in the summertime.
I did another double whammy because I'm just the worst. We have Queen Tessa, her new release, and Au Pair Affair. I read the first one on audiobook and I am going to read this on audiobook as well. I double purchased this one as well, but
Sometimes you gotta.
it's Queen Tessa. How can I not have her on my shelf? And then I've got a new one. So I haven't read any of, Becca and Krista Ritchie. This cover is super sexy and it's like a best friend's brother romance. I don't actually know that much, but it looks really cool and it's not that long, which I appreciate.
Perfect. The most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So mine is Goldfinch by Raven Kennedy, which will be the finale. We're on the last book until then. And I'm just a bit nervous how she's going to wrap it up, but she's proven she can do the payoff.
It's a good
So I'm
arc over
hoping
each
the
individual
whole-
book has
yeah.
an arc, but then the whole story has an arc as well.
Yeah, and I'm kind of just fingers crossed it's not going to be the thing where, alright, she's saved the world, done all the things, and now she's just lost her powers and she's just a human living in a cottage.
We've done
I kinda
that.
hate
I
that.
don't want to do. I also did Goldfinch. as one of them because, like, we've been reading it together. It's been such a big part of our lives.
Yeah.
But I'm also really excited for Daydream.
Me too.
Henry has, from book one, been one of my favourite characters in this series. So to see him have a love story, I just want to see him get down and dirty. I just really like him. He's a sweetie poo. And, like, she's a librarian. And the cover is so pretty.
Biggest disappointment. So not necessarily the worst book is how I interpret it. Just something I had high hopes for. Yeah. And it didn't hit the mark. So I picked A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. It started off cool. The concept was cool. We're having banter. And then there was just a really long lull for like half of the book. And it felt like it was just repeating the same plot points and the same like messages over and over without going anywhere. And then it tried to have like a ending. And I was just like, I'm tired. Yeah.
100% was Leather and Lark. I adored Butcher and Blackbird. I thought it was so refreshing and unique. This feels like a carbon copy of that book, but with like none of the chemistry and none of the banter. It just missed the mark. And like on paper, this is like a book for me that I would like. And it wasn't it. And I think because I was so excited about it, that's why. It's just the level of like, I was this excited for it and it delivered here. I think if I was less excited about it, I probably wouldn't have been as disappointed as I was with the execution.
And I think that is a hard thing for authors, like when they've done so good to kind of like match it or better it, especially in a series. Like
make it the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still excited and I'm going to read the third one when it comes out.
Biggest surprise! I don't own this book. I read it from the library. This is called How High We Go in the Dark. And so this is basically just a collection of short stories that are all interconnected about kind of reactions in like society and in people like to an apocalypse, end of the world, plague. Who could possibly imagine living through a plague? Not
ridiculous.
Me. Some of them are like kind of hit and miss, but it kind of got to the point where I was seeing how it was connected, and it was just like a, oh my god, like I don't know if you remember, but it was
I remember.
Like, oh my, and I was like, I need to read this again, and I was like
on the other side of the screen.
Wait, no,
and we'd be sitting here in silence reading, like, oh, how nice is the silence, and she'd be like, oh my god, I need to talk about my feelings this second.
Yeah, and so I ended up googling people that have like really like dived in and found all the connections. So I plan on buying this on my e-reader, reading it again in a few months maybe, and just like highlighting and noting it to death. But recommend. Like, it wasn't necessarily a fun time, but it was a thought-provoking, interesting.
That's cool. Rule number 5. It is a hockey romance. So, like, I picked it just because it was a hockey romance. I like hockey romances. But this just hooked me from chapter 1. And I feel like that so rarely happens. Like, sometimes you need to read 3 or 4 chapters to kind of get in. But I was like, nah. I am hooked and I need to know, like, obviously it's a romance. I know they're going to get together, but I need to know what the journey is to get there. I loved it so much. I read it on KU that I ended up buying the rest of the series.
New favourite author that you've read? So, I've read a lot of repeat authors this year, so there weren't many, but I decided to go with Sarah Kate, who writes the Salacious Players Club. I really just finished this, but the amount of, like, giggling I did reading this, it was very fun, and I think it was...
She did. I can verify. I was there.
Yeah, and it was fun, it was cute, it was sexy, and like from my knowledge, it did a really good job explaining kink and doing it like in a really healthy way, that it's like, you know, this isn't just like a, we abuse people, woohoo. It's like, no, we're gonna like have agreements about what we will and won't do, and even like there was a scene where they did a scene together, and there was an hour plus of aftercare afterwards. And I was like, that is so sweet.
Yeah.
Love. And I will be needing to read the rest of these ASAP.
I picked Raven Kennedy. Hands down, 100% this year, she is my favourite author who I've picked up. We've obviously talked about the plot and the characters who we love, but her writing style, she is able to write in a way where, like, it is contemporary and it's fast-paced and it's easy to understand, but her imagery and her metaphors that she just, like, weaves into the writing is flawless, and it makes you feel things so deeply, and just, like, I adore her writing so much. I can't wait to delve into more of her work.
Yeah.
I love it.
We've been reading it together and annotating it. There's been so many times where we have to stop reading and keep highlighting like these like beautiful passages. And I'm just like, Raven, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's the thing. We'll be sitting there reading together. It's like, Raven!
That's so Raven. Newest fictional crush. So, I don't know, I find this hard because at the time, there aren't many love interests that I'm like, ew, I hate you. I'm like, yeah, they're all good. But to find one that stands out, I was like, oh no. But I ended up going with Roman Kit from Divine Rivals. Fuck this glare. There we go. And so this is like a YA. It doesn't get too steamy, but it was just really cute. And I can't say too many things, but it was just really cute. And it filled my heart.
100% Noah. 100%. This book, again, I picked it up because it was I actually already had this on my TBR, but Megan's coming to Babe. So I was like, well, it's time to pick this up. Did not expect it to be just like one of the most beautiful love stories I've ever read. It is kind of like a college romance, which is not what I normally am into at all. But Noah, I love him. I want him. Can he just be in real life? I will fight all the ladies for him. Please. But also, like, don't, because, like, this love story is so beautiful and I love it.
The newest favourite character. Again, even harder than the previous one. I'm like, I generally like characters. Some of them piss me off, but there's hardly any.
I feel like it's so much easier to hate a character than to be like, yes, I love this one.
I went with Anna Green from The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. And she was just a delight. Like, she took a little bit of warming up because she was just a bit wacky, wild. But she stayed wacky, wild, but she kind of just, like, didn't put up with anyone's shit. Yeah. And, like, she was herself. And I just thought she was great.
She was pretty
fun.
100% Gibbsy from The Boys of Torment. Now, like, I have to wait freaking, like, 5 books to read Gibbsy's book, which I am not happy about.
But that'll give you motivation to get there, I hope.
But this snarky little asshole has my whole heart. He's not even the main character, but, like, any scene he's in, that's my favourite chapter. I loved him.
A book that made you cry! Make you karate chop and kick. I don't actually know if a book has made me cry this year. I've definitely been emotional. So I've just picked House of Flame and Shadow. I don't know if I cried, but there were just so many plot twists and so many feelings. And there was like a lot of, you know, when it's like a close call where you're like, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. You're not going to kill off that character. But I was still like, oh my god! And the danger, and everyone was there being like, "We love you," and I was like, "Oh my god!" So yeah, so this was also front runner for like best sequel. I know some people didn't like this. Don't know what's wrong with you because it was so good. Although it does feel like there is more stories to come. So I'm definitely expecting Sarah to be like, "Hey, here's a spin-off," because we kind of started building side plots for these characters that didn't completely close off. But our main story closed off.
Let me just pull my book from the ether.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my god, it's Cytonic by Brandon Sanderson. I've been reading this series because it's my sister's favourite book series. And it's something she's been asking me to read for ages. This is book 3 in the series. Like, I didn't love the series as a whole. Like, I thought it was fine. Book 1 was really good. But book 3 in the series, it got me. It got me good, and I can't really say why because Tej is interested in potentially picking it up.
I read the first one. I just need to go back and read the whole thing.
So it's in the crux of the series, and it was like late at night. It was like midnight or like later at night when I was reading this, and there's like characters who are coming to terms with mortality, and it just got me good, and like it really made me realise why people love Sanderson's writing so much, because even though it's a YA book, this like moment, this like 50 pages or so, like such beautiful emotional writing, and I think it takes a real skill. Like we can laugh, we frequently laugh at books. I don't think it's difficult to emote joy from a reader, but to emote that like genuine tears,
and not just like that's sad, but to actually be like I'm with them.
And to feel that with ink on a page. It was very good. I liked it.
A book that made you happy. So there was so many to choose. I was only meant to pick one, but I'm actually going to pick 2. They were both from the library. First, I'm going to talk about that time I got drunk and saved a demon. This is just like a cozy, fantasy, sexy romp. And it was so short. Again, this was one where I was just giggling and like going, oh my god! And you're like, what? And I was like, and like, stop telling me. Because I
genuinely want to read this book.
Yeah, so if you just need a palate cleanser...
And it's like, just by the title alone, I feel like it gives you
kit.
Everything you need.
Another cheesy book, if you will, is The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich, which is a graphic novel I got from the library. And it was just full of cheese puns and lesbians. And that's all you need to know, really.
I mean, that sounds like the best time.
I think that
no wonder it made you happy.
Every character's name was a type of cheese. I think we have like Count Camembert, and I'm like, this is great.
I also picked 2.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't. I've actually read a lot that made me so happy, and there's so many that like I'm looking at that I've read this year that I'm like, sorry you couldn't make the list, but like,
thank you for your service.
Yeah, I narrowed it down to 2. So one of them was The Paradise Problem.
Yeah.
This was just Christina Lauren knows how to write a good romance. We actually read this as a buddy read with 3 of our friends across Australia, and I think that added to the enjoyment level because we couldn't just like pick it up and just like tear through it. And I think I still would have enjoyed it, but we were able to pause and like really analyze and think about like why the characters were behaving this way. And I think having those conversations and like sending memes and stuff on Fable, I think that added to the enjoyment of the book itself. So I loved that. And then the other one is Layla Pine.
Oh. I was like, wow.
Yeah. Layla Pine, I have completely fallen in love with her writing. This is the Aussie Craving series. Book 3 is the one I picked. So I've read 3 of them this year.
You picked 2.
I read that last year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Book 2 is 100% my favourite in the series. 100%. I've made one of my friends read it and she liked it and it was the most validating thing. But book 3 is like very, very close for me. I love books 2 and 3 as much. So we've got, she's a TV producer. He's Dr. Chris Brown, but not Dr. Chris Brown, the TV vet.
His wish, Chris Brown.
Yeah. And so they are exes from like way back when, and they've had like the messiest, awful breakup. So you've got this enemies to lovers storyline, but like they don't really hate each other. They still love each other.
So much.
Just the plot's really fun. It's set in rural Australia. I loved it. I had such a great time.
The most pretty book you've acquired.
The most pretty book.
So there's lots of pretty books, but I decided to go with The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence because it's just this gorgeous library and it's got all this gold foiling.
It is really
and it's a magic library. And I'm like, I just want to read it.
And it's got symmetry and it's got dimension because the foil is good.
Yeah,
it's good.
What did you pick?
I picked June 1st by Jennifer Hartman. I have not read any of her books yet. But when we went to... Yeah, it's really pretty. And it was one of the reasons I picked it up. So we went to Melbourne. And before we went to a TV show. We went to a theatre show. Before we went, we were like, we have to go to Dimmick's. Like, because they've got the big one. How can we not go to one of the biggest bookstores? This was one of the books I purchased there. I thought it was one of the most stunning covers I'd seen. I'd heard of her, but haven't read her. And then it's a taboo romance.
The next is, what books do you need to read for the rest of the year? Which, like, look behind me. Everything. But I've narrowed it down to this stack. So this is more just like focusing on series and authors. So I would like to finish Mistborn Era 2. I still need to reread all of Stormlight Archive, to read Rhythm of War, to then read Winds of Truth. And then I still haven't caught up on the Secret Project.
Sanderson Sands are weird, man.
And like, yeah, this series is like okay, but not as good. But it has connections, so like I'm still going to read it. Then I'm currently making my way through the Red Queen series.
Making my way through Red Queen.
Yeah. This is just like a YA fantasy I read back in college, but only the first one. And it's just very much like teenagers being dumb. But I'm hoping... Classic era. So I'm kind of hoping it's going to like develop more and I'll get more out of it, but like it'll still be fun.
Did you read the whole series as a kid? Just the
one at the library, and then I was like, oh my god, plot twist! And then I eventually got the second book and forgot everything that happened. So I was like, well, I need to binge it. So I've like owned it for years and then just haven't gone back. Until now. 2024. Yes. Then I need to read the rest of Chestnut Springs for Babe, but also Flawless was really fun, and I've heard that I think this is everyone's like favourite, the second one.
I've heard, second, a lot of people say like stick around for the second one.
Yeah. And then
which is like good. When we were talking about like second book syndrome before, where it's like, it's nice to know that there's books that defy that expectation.
Yeah. And then I just wanted to catch up on a bit of Tessa Bailey and Lauren Asher. So I recently finished the Dreamland Billionaires this year, and this is the spin-off to that. And I already have the second one.
It just came out like last month.
Yeah. And then I've just picked, this is the second one in the series that I'm up to of Hot and Hammered, and then I haven't started this duology or this one.
This makes me, I've read all
have
3 of
so
these. This makes me
much.
so happy.
Tessa's like by far my favourite romance author, so I have at least probably
So
15 of her books to catch up on, so I'm going to be well fed.
Get some Tessa in there.
Yeah, get into it. What have you got?
Give me a moment.
Yeah.
I have
Whoa!
so many books that I want to read. One of my big goals this year is to finish the series that I've already started. So that's where all of these ones are series that I'm in the middle of. So down the bottom, we've got Gold, which we are already in the middle of, progressing for final book's release. This is the last in the Skyward series. It's 3 short novellas. So I'll finish that one. Akata, because like I said to Tej, I would read it. Windy City series. So we started this with that book club that I mentioned before. Book 4 comes out later this year. I'm really excited. I loved the first one. I loved reading it together, and I'm really excited to read the rest of these with our girls together. And finishing off, this isn't even all of them. There's like 2 more after
Yeah, I was going to
this.
be like, how many are there?
How many are there? Dustwalker Brides. So there's 7 out of 8 that have been released. This is books 4 and 5. So I'm going to try and get up to date in time for She's Coming to Babe. And I just fell in love with this series. And I've really enjoyed like each book. It's like they're monster romances. You have a kind of like...
Fantastic.
Yeah, like each of them, you kind of know what you're going in for, but there's this really cool, like, overarching story. So as well as your romance between your main characters, there's this world that's kind of getting built and this, like, bigger story beyond the romance that I'm really enjoying. Just a couple.
That was our mid-year freak-out tag. I will not be checking in to see if I was successful, but that's where we're at right now. Let me know if you've read any of these or if there's any books you want to talk about. Whether they're from the ether or you have them.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. That was
Okay, so far.
Yeah. I know, you really came out of your way.
I did.
But with that, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.